The new VADA Sure Lok technology is intended to enhance the usefulness of conventional cable-operated prosthetic and orthotic devices, and is particularly well suited for use in upper extremity systems using either voluntary opening or voluntary closing operation. Sure Lok is intended for general activities of daily living. It will assist in carrying and holding objects for prolonged periods of time. However, it's not intended for heavy-duty applications such as weightlifting, heavy manual labor, operating heavy machinery, driving motor vehicles, or scenarios where the terminal device is strongly forced open. Sure Lok enables users of voluntary opening devices to moderate their grip force with less physical exertion and is especially useful when working with delicate objects.
The value of the Sure Lok is that I can open it, allow it to just come down and squeeze on a delicate object like an egg and not have to worry about crushing the egg.
At its core, Sure Lok is a unidirectional mechanical cable lock that gives users greater control over their assistive appliance than ever before possible. Sure Lok is provided as a kit and is manually operated and simple to use. Rotating the lever away from the post locks the device, while rotating it towards the post allows the device to unlock. The device works best using special Python standard 1/16 of an inch diameter cable and new low-friction cable housing ferrules that work with a heavy-duty housing and liner. Sure Lok is ergonomically designed and operates inconspicuously under clothing. Actuation is easily accomplished through shirt or jacket sleeves, and a tactile spring and snap action lets users feel when the unit switches between the lock and unlock positions. The following are included in the basic Sure Lok kit: 2 nylon cover bases, 4 levers, 2 lever fasteners, 4 covers, 1 set of both right and left, 1 stainless structural base, 2 mounting fasteners, 1 double groove cam, 10 leaf springs, 2 sets of 5 springs each. Also included are a 1.5 foot length of cable housing and liner, as well as 3 feet of Python standard cable and 4 new low-friction cable housing ferrules. TRS doesn't provide cable triple swivels, hangers, or other fittings in the installation, owing to terminal device-specific variations. To install Sure Lok, first determine the optimal center line for the cable and housing. If installing Sure Lok on a new prosthesis, determine where the cable housing retainer would normally be positioned. This location should accommodate the Sure Lok as well. One option with a new prosthesis is to create a custom depression in the surface that accepts Sure Lok and to lower its external profile without interfering with its function. Mark the cable center line of the prosthesis. Remove any existing cable hardware or cable housing retainers and fill any holes left in the surface. Clean the surface if needed. Position the stainless structural base over the center line at the optimal location and mark its position. The cable inlet and outlet holes in the structural base should align with the center line, with the bulk of the base being lateral or below the center line. Attach the template to the prosthesis at the location marked for the structural base using a spray mount type adhesive or clear tape. Make sure to align the center line of the template with the marked center line on the prosthesis. Secure a piece of 120 or 180 grit sandpaper, about 2 inches by 3 inches, to the prosthesis over the template. Use the curvature of the prosthesis to form and shape the concave surface of the nylon cover base until it conforms to the curvature. It's recommended to set the preferred colored cover and practice on the other. Try and avoid reducing the overall height of the cover base at this thin section. Shape the cover base until it conforms snugly to the surface of the prosthesis for a visually appealing installation. Remove the sandpaper and tape. Drill 5 64th inch diameter holes at the locations marked A, B, and C. Enlarge only hole C to 1/4 inch in diameter to accept the boss on the bottom of the structural base. Carefully drill this hole 5/32 to 1/4 of an inch deep through the prosthesis laminate shell. This boss transfers mechanical forces to the prosthesis shell instead of the mounting screws. Place the structural base over the template. The boss should fit into hole C, and the 4 small feet on the bottom should touch the prosthesis' surface, matching the hole marks on the template. The structural base should sit on the prosthesis, stable and unable to rock. If the structural base and its feet don't accurately fit the prosthesis surface, make 4 5/64 inch drill point depressions at the numbered hole locations. Normally only minor depressions are needed, and the feet should fit into these shallow holes. This allows the bottom of the structural base to touch the prosthesis along the center line firmly without rocking. The outside curvature of the prosthesis will determine if you need to make this modification. Remove the template and clean the prosthesis if necessary. Using the 2 number 4 1/4 inch long fasteners supplied, attach the stainless structural base to the prosthesis. Don't over-tighten the screws as the hole threads may strip. A small amount of barge or rubber cement may be used under the base if additional bonding is desired. Take the modified cover base and press it in place over the structural base to evaluate the fit. The cover base should fit all around the perimeter snugly against the prosthesis, or with only a very small gap. If not, pry off the base and use a Dremel tool or similar rotary tool to adjust and reshape the cover base. Next, install the cam by placing a hole on the narrow or pointed end of the pin in the structural base. The threaded cam pin should face away from the structural base. A light machine oil such as Tri-Flow can be used on the axle as a lubrication. Assemble the 5 leaf springs into a stack. Grasp them between your fingers or with a small pliers. The bent V-shaped spring should be located closest to the cam, with the vertex pointing toward the cam. Slide the stack of springs behind the cam, carefully forcing the spring stack ends into the recesses located on either side of the structural base next to the cam. Lightly lubricate the bent spring where it contacts the cam. Press the cover base over the structural base assembly. Next, cut the cable housing to fit both ends of the Sure Lok. The proximal sections should be long enough to reach any crossbar straps or triceps cuff retainers. The distal section should be long enough to protect the cable on the forearm of the prosthesis, yet not interfere with the terminal device operation. Buff and polish all 4 ends of the cable housing, and press fit the cable housing ferrule into one end only of each housing section. Slide a section of cable housing liner into the cable housing until it stops at the cable housing ferrule in the other end. Mark the liner with a permanent marker and withdraw it about 1 inch. If the cable housing is more than 6 inches long, bend the housing while marking the liner to maximize the length of the liner inside the housing. Cut the liner off cleanly using a razor blade about 1/4 to 1/3 of an inch shorter than the mark. Slide the liner back into the housing and press the second cable housing ferrule to the trap and retain it inside the housing. Repeat this procedure for the other section of the cable housing. Thread the assembled cable housing sections into each end of the installed structural base through the nylon cover base. If the assembled sections don't thread into the base easily, lightly sand and reduce the diameter of the cable housing ferrule on the end and reinstall. A small drop of Loctite 242 or thread locker equivalent thread adhesive may be applied to the ends of the cable housings before installation. Inspect the inside of the Sure Lok structural base to ensure there is no interference between the cam and cable housings. Clean the entire surface of the cable with acetone and feed the cable into the Sure Lok slowly so it snakes through all the fittings. Spinning or rolling the cable between your fingers may help. Move the cam back and forth to check the locking and unlocking action on the cable. Then leave the cam in its locked position. Select the appropriate base cover, right or left, and inspect it for excess flashing. Remove any excess with a razor blade. Fit the cover onto the cover base with the cam still in the locked position. Making sure the tabs or ears on the cover are captured under the top edge, use a small screwdriver to snap or lever the cover into place. The cover should fit all around its edge and be flush with the cover base. Select the desired lever from the two models provided. Standard is low profile. The thicker or taller lever may be used or customized for special circumstances. For example, to meet a user's needs for locating and operating the lever. Slip the selected lever over the threaded stud and use the small fastener to secure it in place. A drop of Loctite can be used on the fastener's threads before installation. Lightly tighten the fastener. Over-tightening can distort the lever's shape and cause binding or other problems. Installation of the Sure Lok is complete except for cutting the cable to its final length and attaching appropriate cable end fittings. Your Sure Lok is now ready for use.